Hey guys, it's Benjamin with Benjamin's Exotics, and in today's Morph Guide, we're going to be taking a look at the Spider Enchi Shatter Ball Python. So in today's video, we're going to be taking a look at the Spider Enchi Shatter Ball Python. And this is actually, I think, the first ever 3-gene combo we've ever featured on a Morph Guide. So let's actually take a look at the animal we're going to be talking about in today's video, which is this handsome male right here. Looks like he has a big kneel in him from a few days ago as well. So this is the Spider Enchi Shatter Ball Python, and I like this combination for a variety of reasons, not only because it's a great combo that I can do a lot with genetically, but also I like it for today's video because it shows and it highlights what the Shatter does. And you know, again, this is a Morph Guide, so we're going to talk about the Spider, the Enchi, and the Shatter, but Spider and Enchi are kind of more well-known genes, so even though we are going to touch on those, the main topic and the main, I guess, key ingredient in today's video is going to be highlighting the Shatter Ball Python. So let's first break down the Spider influence and the Enchi influence in this snake without the Shatter being present, which is going to be very important later in the video. So if we were going to look at a standard Spider, Spider is the main dominating pattern mutation in this combo. So if we look at a standard Spider, as you can see, it's pretty just like a Spider. I'll actually leave a link right here to our Spider Ball Python Morph Guide if you want more in-depth information on the Spider gene. But generally, the Spider does just that. The spider web patterning, kind of a stripe down the back. Now, when you put Enchi to this morph, so you get an Enchi spider, also known as a stinger bee, you're going to start getting reductions. See how this isn't really broken up too much, but on the Enchi form, the bands actually start going kind of the opposite way. They're going kind of horizontal along the snake's body instead of vertical, and they're getting really banded down the snake's body, and they are reduced. That is classic influence of the Enchi gene. Okay, forget all the yellow and orange color. So essentially, when we're working with just the two base genes to start out with, we have Spider, which is the pattern mutation, and then the Enchi is just reducing things. Okay, that is basically the entire summary of the Spider and Enchi in this gene. Now let's look at the Shatter, which is probably why most people are watching this video currently. So Shatter is a weird gene in the sense that I can't even really sit here and tell you exactly what it does, because Shatter does all kinds of stuff. So in this gene, let me just kind of give you an idea of what the Shatter is doing. This is Shatter. All of the yellow color right here is Shatter. Shatter is the yellow on the sides of this snake. Shatter is the head color being completely diffused. Shatter is also the little specks of color that you see coming through on the sides of this snake. Like, see that color right there? That's literally almost looks like it's like it's been stripped away. The brown has been stripped away, and you're left with just this yellow color. That is also the Shatter's influence on this snake. So first of all, when we talk about Shatters, the weirdest thing about them is that they are literally like a randomized gene. So if I breed a pastel to a Mojave, you guys would know, if you're pretty in-depth with ball python genetics, that if I breed a pastel and a Mojave, I get a Pastavi. And all Pastavis kind of look similar, and they're really, they all look basically the same. You might have high quality and low quality, but generally, Pastavis are pretty similar. Shatters are not like that. I could breed a Shatter to a pastel or a Shatter to a Spider and get 10 completely different looks. Okay, it's really weird. Shatter is a layer manipulator, and the way that I like to think about ball python genetics is that all of these genes, as they stack on top of each other, they work in layers. So essentially, let's first look at a Spider Shatter, just to get a baseline of what each gene is doing. So if we look at like a Spider Shatter, typically Spider and Shatter together will not have a huge effect, and you'll essentially get a spider ball python that is a little bit reduced in the pattern, and the head will be slightly diffused. That is what a spider shatter looks like. It isn't really that impressive, but once we throw in Enchi, you start getting all of these fantastic colors. Why is that? Well, it's because Enchi adds color layers to the morph. Spider, in ball pythons, there are two types of genetic mutations, and some mutations can have both of these traits, but we either have pattern mutations or color mutations. Again, some morphs can be both. In a pattern mutation, something like a spider or a pinstripe, the pattern changes but the color doesn't, and in something like a pastel, the pattern is almost the same, but there are more color layers added. So essentially, the Shatter gene appreciates having more color layers in the ball python morph. So when we add Enchi, Enchi is essentially a very gold snake, but underneath all of that gold coloration, all that rich kind of, yellowy browns, is this beautiful orange color. And what the Shatter does is the Shatter is reacting with the Enchi, and it is actually stripping away the layers of brown that you would have on a typical Enchi spider, and it's revealing all of these beautiful orange-yellow colors. That's the exact same thing that it's doing with the tail. Actually, in the case of the tail, it didn't just erode some of the pattern on the sides, it literally did almost all of the sides of the tail, and it even came over, and it just stripped this entire snake of all of the brown type layers. You can even see it on the head. It didn't do nearly as dramatic of a job of stripping the pattern as it did on the sides of this snake, but if we look at the head, you will see that some of the layers are stripped. And again, this is all random. So I could make a spider Enchi Shatter. So I can make this exact combo, and literally you might have a little bit of pattern on the head, and you might have a little bit of orange on the side, and that might be it. Or I could breed a spider, I could make, another one of these, and it could be even crazier. You might have the kind of, see how the tail does that kind of thing where the pattern is being stripped on the entire segment of the snake's body. You might have more of this on the back of the snake, all over the back of the snake. It could be on the neck. Again, Shatter is a very random gene, but it appreciates having color layers to manipulate. Now, like I said, Shatter is essentially a layer manipulator in terms of it strips layers, but it also will add layers. So we just talked about how in this particular combo, the reason you see all of these beautiful colors is because the Shatter is stripping away all of the brown color on this snake, and it's revealing all of the beautiful orange, yellows underneath of the brown color, but it also adds layers, and it will jumble layers in a really weird way. So let's look at another kind of staple ball python combo, the bumblebee, which is a really, really pretty snake. Typically, when you get spider bumblebee, or sorry, when you get Shatter bumblebees, so you get a pastel, spider, Shatter, almost always it is going to be essentially this. You'll get a bumblebee, and about on the last, or maybe mid to last third of the snake's body, there will be one small gray patch, one small patch of gray coloration. And you look at that and you go, boom, that's Shatter. Literally, that's all it does. So Shatter is I call it a complicated gene because in some cases, like with the Enchi spider Shatter that we just looked at, it does ridiculous things and it makes all these crazy colors. And sometimes if you make something like this, is of course just a standard bumblebee, but if you did make a bumblebee Shatter, it literally will just be a bumblebee and you'll have a patch of gray right here on the side, and that is it. That's literally all that the Shatter does in that combo. So Shatter is a very new gene, and we're really working hard to try to understand how it works and why it does certain things, and why in certain genes it does incredibly crazy things and it makes these insane colors, whereas in other genes like the bumblebee, it really just doesn't react nearly as dramatically. It's really a complicated gene. However, it is a gene that I would recommend for people to get into their collection. If you have a collection of even just you know, more basic ball python combinations. So things like bumblebees and shatter bees, or wow, what am I saying? Things like bumblebees and stinger bees, maybe Mojave spiders, lemon blast, pastels, Mojaves, all that kind of stuff. Pastavi bees. I'm doing a lot of, you know, spider combos because I like spider. But essentially, if you have a collection of even, you know, just nice quality ball python morphs that aren't necessarily that dramatic, Shatter is not going to hurt them in any way. Shatter is one of those genes that whatever you put it to, it's going to do something, but it doesn't really, it normally won't take away from the color of the animal. So sometimes you have genes like, if I'm trying to make a bright color bumblebee, I'm not going to add something like cinnamon or black pastel into this combination because it's actually going to take away from my goal of making this beautiful yellow bright snake. Whereas with shatters, really, it's not going to ever take away from a morph that you breed it to. It can only enhance it and make things crazier. So it's really, if you are a ball python breeder and you want to get a gene that's just a weird gene, it does things that are crazy and it gives you unpredictable results, I would recommend getting it into your collection. I certainly am really working hard to get more shatter bloodlines into my projects because, again, it's a very limited gene and there haven't been that many made or reproduced on the market. So if you are looking for just a crazy kind of dinker gene, it's just insane. By itself, it's really not that dramatic. I can put a picture of a normal shatter up right now and it's not really anything. Sometimes, you know, normal shatters look like normal ball pythons with weird funky sides and sometimes gray color on the sides, and that's it. They're really by themselves not that impressive, but once you start stacking on Enchi and Fire and Pastel and Mojave and all these different things, you start creating really cool morphs. And at bare minimum, it will add a extra spice, an extra coloration, or an extra layer onto your ball python combo. It certainly won't take away from the quality of your morphs. Now, one of the last points that I want to touch on, and I'm really bad, I always forget to actually, I do these morph guides and I talk, you know, on and on about the different aspects of these morphs, but I always forget to actually say genetically what the different morphs are. So, if we're looking at the spider Enchi Shatter, all of these are codominant genes, and this is a big deal for the shatter. So essentially, when we're dealing with codominant genes, there are two types of codominant genes in ball pythons in terms of their superforms. So you have some genes like Mojave and Lesser and Bamboo, where let's take a Mojave, okay? If I breed two Mojave ball pythons together, I will get a super Mojave, but a super Mojave doesn't even look remotely close to a normal Mojave. It is a blue-eyed leucistic with a gray head and some patterning on the back, maybe a stripe down the back. It's completely different. Whereas with things like Pastel and Enchi and Spot Nose and all of those kind of genes, you know, if I breed an Enchi to an Enchi, I don't get something completely different as my super form. A super Enchi looks like a more exaggerated version of an Enchi. When I breed a chocolate to a chocolate, I get a more exaggerated version of the chocolate. Same thing with Pastel, same thing with Orange Dream, same thing with all these different genes. And I'm happy to say that that is indeed the case with Shatter. So in this instance, so with this combo, we can only assume that if this was a super shatter, so if this was a spider, Enchi, super shatter, all of the traits that you see here, so the diffusing and stripping layers on the head, all the orange on the sides, the orange of the tail, not only would all of these colors be more intense and more dramatic, but there would be more of it occurring on this snake. So you would see all of the destruction of layers and all of the stripping of layers that you see on the sides of this snake, on the tail, and on the head. It would be more dramatic and more present, and that is really what excites me the most about this gene. So personally, when I do breed this male, I'm going to hold back almost every single shatter female that I can get my hands on because I want to make super shatter combos. Okay, could you imagine this snake? I think this snake is really pretty as it is. I really like all of this color, but could you imagine what a super shatter version of this is going to look like? I mean, again, this is a very new gene, so this is all in theory, but in theory, we should have all of this yellow and orange color, but it should be even more intense and thrown up across the back, a lot like we have on the tail. And this snake is just going to look so crazy and so insane, and there's going to be so many layers being manipulated by the Shatter. Okay, so the Shatter is a very powerful gene, and this is just talking about one combo, the Stinger Bee Shatter or the Enchi Spider Shatter. Could you imagine what's going to happen when we start getting like super Enchi, super Shatter clowns, or you start putting Shatter into things like Disco and the Disco Infernos, or you start putting Shatter into all these different pastel combos? I mean, I really think Super Shatter, you know, Shatter by itself is a really awesome gene, but if my theory is correct, and if the way that genes typically work out follows the same pattern, in the future when we start making Super Shatter combos, they're all just going to be more exaggerated versions of what we see with the Shatter Ball Python. So I'm really excited. In the future, one of my goals is to produce some Super Enchi, Super Shatter spiders. So we'll essentially have just the craziest looking combo on the snake, and my hope is that all of these crazy colors will be thrown into the back of this snake along the sides, and maybe we might even get a full destruction, and all of the layers on the head might be stripped. So literally the head of this combo might be completely yellow-orange like you see in the sides of this snake. So just in conclusion, Shatter as a co-dominant gene and as a gene in the market right now, very underrated, very undervalued. I mean, you can pick Shatters up for not a lot of money, and you can get some really nice Shatter combos online or at shows. Probably at shows is going to be a little bit harder to find them, but certainly online there are some nice breeders looking to get into Shatters. And if you have a collection and you're wanting to take your collection to the next level, okay, get some really awesome combos, Shatter is definitely a gene that is not going to hurt your collection in any way and will only make your combos more impressive and more dramatic in the future. So hopefully you guys did enjoy and most importantly benefit from today's morph guide. I know Shatter is a very complicated gene, so I hope that I did a decent job in today's video explaining all of the things that it does when combined with other combos, and certainly Shatter is going to be a huge part of the future ball python breeding projects we are doing here at Benjamin's Exotics. If you're interested in checking out and seeing some of the projects that we're going to do with the Shatter gene, be sure to follow us on Instagram at Benjamins_exotics. Link will also be in the description below. If you guys did enjoy today's video, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And until next time, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.